The moment Beth Dutton realized the sickness was spreading across the ranch, everything changed. This is no longer just a fight about land, power, or money. Now it feels personal. Someone is targeting Beth and Rip from the shadows, and episode 4 might finally reveal just how dangerous this new enemy really is. The scariest part? Beth is starting to understand that Beulah may be far more ruthless than anyone imagined. And if Beth decides to strike back, this ranch war could explode into something deadly. Beth and Rip have survived impossible situations, Bjor, but this time feels different. In the previous episode, we watched the infection spread through the cattle faster than expected, turning what looked like a small problem into a complete nightmare. Every animal getting sick represents money, survival, and the future. Beth and Rip worked so hard to build together. They sacrificed everything to create a new beginning away from the chaos of the Yellowstone Empire, but now that dream is slowly collapsing right in front of them. What makes the situation even worse is that Rip already suspects the new bull may have brought the disease onto the ranch. And honestly, the more clues we get, the harder it becomes to ignore the possibility that this was intentional. I keep thinking back to the auction. Beulah wanted that bull badly, and the tension between her and Beth was impossible to miss. Beth humiliated her in public by taking the animal she wanted, and people like Beulah don't simply move on from embarrassment like that. She's the kind of person who hides her anger behind a smile while quietly planning revenge. Episode 4 could finally show us the true extent of her power, because the synopsis hints that she will continue tightening her control over the area. That line alone tells me something very dark is coming. What if the disease outbreak was never an accident? Foot and mouth disease spreads quickly, and if someone intentionally introduced an infected animal onto the ranch, the consequences would be devastating. Not only could it destroy Beth and Rip financially, but it could isolate them from neighboring ranches and turn the entire community against them. Suddenly, Beth wouldn't just be fighting one enemy. She'd be fighting fear, suspicion, and panic from everyone around her. And that may be exactly what Beulah wants. The terrifying thing about Beulah is that she doesn't seem motivated only by money. Most villains in this world can be bought or negotiated with somehow, but Beulah feels different. She wants control. She wants people to fear her. And the more we learn about her history, the more dangerous she becomes. Oriana's comments about Beulah creating the darkness inside Rob Will were incredibly revealing. That single conversation changed how I see her completely. It suggests that Beulah has been manipulating people and destroying lives for years, long before Beth and Rip arrived. If that's true, then Beth may have walked directly into a war she doesn't fully understand yet. At the same time, Beth is not someone who backs down from fear. That's exactly why this conflict feels so explosive. Most people in this town probably stay quiet because they're terrified of Beulah. But Beth has never cared about consequences when someone threatens her family. The problem is that Beth usually fights battles she understands. Corporate enemies, political games, personal revenge. Those are worlds she controls easily. But ranch life is different. Disease, livestock, survival, and land wars create problems that money alone cannot solve. For once, Beth may be entering a fight where anger and intelligence are not enough to guarantee victory. Rip also seems deeply shaken by what's happening. Normally, he stays calm even during chaos, but episode 3 showed real fear in his eyes. He knows how fragile ranch life can be. One outbreak can destroy years of work overnight. And unlike Beth, Rip has an emotional connection to the animals that makes this situation even more painful. Watching the cattle suffer clearly affected him deeply. That emotional pressure could push Rip into making dangerous decisions in episode 4. If he discovers proof that someone intentionally infected the ranch, I honestly think all limits disappear. Rip has always been capable of violence when protecting the people he loves, and Beulah may be about to discover exactly how dangerous he can become. But here's where things get even more complicated. While Beth and Rip are struggling to save the ranch, Beulah appears to be growing stronger. Every episode shows her expanding her influence, controlling people through fear, and removing anyone who threatens her authority. The woman who fled town with her baby may have escaped temporarily, but I don't believe that storyline is over at all. In fact, episode 4 could reveal that Beulah is already hunting her down. If that happens, it would confirm something terrifying. Beulah is willing to destroy innocent lives just to protect her image and power. And honestly, That's what makes this conflict feel so dangerous compared to Beth's previous enemies. Beulah doesn't care about rules, morality, or public opinion. She operates like someone who believes she owns the entire region. That kind of power creates monsters, and Beth is finally starting to realize she may have underestimated the woman standing across from her. The deeper Beth digs into Beulah's world, the more horrifying the truth becomes. Episode 4 feels like the moment where everything finally starts connecting together, because there are too many strange events happening around this ranch to be simple coincidences. The disease outbreak, the missing people, the fear in the town, the silence from everyone around Beulah, it all points towards something much darker hiding beneath the surface. And the scariest part is that Beth may already be trapped inside a game she doesn't fully understand yet. One thing I cannot stop thinking about is the woman who fled town with her child. That storyline feels extremely important moving forward. In episode 3, her fear looked genuine, almost like she knew terrible things about Beulah that nobody else was willing to say out loud. People do not abandon their homes and disappear overnight unless they believe staying behind is more dangerous than running away. The way she packed her things so quickly told us everything we needed to know. She wasn't leaving because she wanted a fresh start. She was escaping because she believed her life was in danger. And honestly, I think Beth is beginning to realize that too. Beth has dealt with criminals, corrupt businessmen, and violent enemies before, but Beulah's style is different. She doesn't attack directly. She poisons situations slowly. She creates fear inside communities until people become too afraid to speak against her. That is why nobody openly challenges her authority. Even when people suspect she's behind terrible things, they stay silent because survival matters more than truth. That kind of psychological control is terrifying, and episode 4 may finally show Beth how deep that fear truly runs. At first, Beth probably believed this was just another ranch rivalry. Complicated? Yes. Dangerous? Definitely. But manageable. Now the situation feels completely different. Now it feels like Beulah has eyes and ears everywhere. Every move Beth makes may already be known before she even acts. That creates a terrifying imbalance because Beth normally controls the pressure in conflicts. She's usually the person making other people nervous. But with Beulah, the power dynamic is shifting in a way Beth isn't used to. I also think Rip is going to become increasingly suspicious during this episode. He knows ranch life better than almost anyone, and deep down, I think he already senses the disease outbreak doesn't feel natural. The timing is simply too perfect. Everything started after the auction. Everything started after Beulah lost control of the situation publicly. And Rip knows something else too. People like Beulah never forget humiliation, especially public humiliation. That's why I believe episode 4 could include Rip secretly investigating the cattle situation himself. He may start questioning workers, examining records, or trying to trace where the infected bull originally came from. And if Rip discovers proof that this outbreak was intentional, the entire story could explode into open war. Because unlike Beth, Rip doesn't play psychological games for long. When he believes someone crossed a line, his response becomes immediate and brutal. But the danger here is that Beulah may actually be expecting that reaction. That's what makes her such a frightening opponent. She feels patient, calculated, almost like she wants Beth and Rip emotionally unstable because angry people make mistakes. And right now, Beth and Rip are under enormous pressure. Financial pressure, emotional pressure, physical exhaustion, fear about losing everything they built together. Beulah may believe she can slowly break them apart from the inside before delivering the final blow. There's also another detail from episode 3 that keeps bothering me. The way Beulah spoke to Beth felt less like a warning and more like a threat disguised as politeness. Every word sounded controlled and deliberate, almost like she was testing Beth to see how far she could push her emotionally. And Beth noticed it too. You could see it in her expression. For maybe the first time since arriving at this ranch, Beth looked uncertain. Not weak, not defeated, but cautious. That's a huge difference. Beth Dutton rarely fears anyone. So if Beulah has managed to make Beth hesitate even slightly, that tells us everything about how dangerous this woman may actually be. Meanwhile, I think Oriana's role in the story is about to become much bigger. She clearly hates Beulah, but until now, she's mostly stayed quiet about the reasons why. Episode 4 could finally start revealing pieces of Beulah's past through Oriana's perspective. Maybe she witnessed terrible things happen years ago. Maybe she knows how Beulah built her empire, or maybe she understands exactly what happened to Rob Will before anyone else did. Whatever the truth is, I don't think Oriana can stay silent forever. And that may place her directly in danger. If Beulah discovers Oriana is helping Beth and Rip behind the scenes, things could turn deadly very quickly. Because Beulah doesn't strike me as someone who forgives betrayal. She seems like the type of person who destroys anyone, threatening her control completely and permanently. That's why the atmosphere surrounding episode 4 feels so tense. It no longer feels like a simple family drama. It feels like a psychological war where every character is slowly being pushed toward a breaking point. What makes the situation even more explosive is the possibility that secrets from the past could resurface soon. Rip disposing of Rob Will's body may solve one problem temporarily, but secrets like that rarely stay buried forever in shows like this. Eventually, someone always notices missing pieces. Eventually, someone starts asking questions. And if Beulah begins investigating the Duttons more aggressively, there's a real chance she could uncover truths that even Beth and Rip desperately want hidden. That could completely change the balance of power. Because right now, Beth and Rip believe Beulah is their biggest threat. But what happens if Beulah suddenly gains leverage against them? What happens if she discovers information powerful enough to destroy their lives completely? That possibility alone makes episode 4 feel incredibly dangerous, because Beth may finally be facing an enemy capable of matching her ruthlessness step for step. By the time episode 4 reaches its final moments, I honestly think Beth and Rip could find themselves standing on the edge of total collapse. The pressure surrounding the ranch is becoming impossible to ignore, and every new problem seems connected to Beulah in some way. What started as a simple dream of building a peaceful future together is slowly turning into a nightmare neither of them can escape. And the most tragic part is that Beth may finally realize this fight is bigger than just protecting land or cattle. This is now about survival. The disease spreading through the ranch is already devastating enough, but the emotional damage may end up hurting Beth and Rip even more. Rip has spent his entire life protecting ranches, caring for animals, and preserving the cowboy lifestyle he believes in. Watching the cattle suffer is destroying him from the inside, even if he refuses to fully show it. Beneath Rip's calm exterior, there's clearly growing anger and frustration building every second. And if the outbreak continues spreading in episode 4, I think we may finally see Rip lose control completely. The frightening thing is that Rip's anger is usually silent until it explodes. He doesn't scream warnings. He doesn't make dramatic speeches. He simply reaches a point where he decides enough is enough. And if he truly believes Beulah intentionally attacked the ranch, then nobody around her may be safe anymore. That possibility alone creates massive tension heading into this episode, because once Rip starts acting emotionally instead of strategically, the situation could spiral into outright violence very quickly. At the same time, Beth herself may be approaching a dangerous emotional breaking point too. Throughout this entire series, Beth has always appeared fearless, almost untouchable emotionally. Even when she suffers, she hides it behind confidence and sarcasm. But episode 4 feels different because the threat against her isn't direct anymore. It's psychological. It's personal. Beulah isn't simply attacking Beth's pride. She's attacking her future with Rip. She's attacking the life they tried so hard to build together away from all the chaos of Yellowstone. And honestly, I think that's exactly why Beth may become more dangerous than ever before. When Beth fights for herself, she's ruthless. But when she fights for the people she loves, she becomes terrifying. We've already seen glimpses of that side of her throughout the series. The moment Beth believes someone is threatening Rip, Carter, or their family, all restraint disappears. Episode 4 could finally push Beth into that mindset completely. Instead of reacting emotionally, she may start planning revenge carefully and methodically. And unlike Rip's explosive anger, Beth's revenge tends to be cold, patient, and devastating. But here's where things become truly unpredictable. What if Beulah actually wants Beth to retaliate? The more I think about it, the more it feels like Beulah has been carefully setting traps from the beginning. Every move she makes seems designed to pressure Beth and Rip emotionally while keeping her own hands clean publicly. If Beth lashes out recklessly, Beulah could easily use that against her. She could paint Beth as unstable, dangerous, or even criminal in front of the community. That would isolate Beth and Rip even further at the exact moment they desperately need support. And let's be honest, the town already seems terrified of Beulah. Very few people appear willing to stand against her openly. That fear creates a massive advantage because Beulah doesn't need everyone to love her. She only needs them too scared to oppose her. Episode 4 might finally reveal just how deep her influence truly reaches. There could be law enforcement officers protecting her, ranchers secretly working for her, or even town officials helping her maintain control behind the scenes. If that happens, Beth and Rip may realize they're fighting an enemy much larger than they originally believed. Still, despite all the darkness surrounding this story, I do think there's one possible source of hope moving forward: Oriana and Carter. Their growing connection feels incredibly important right now because emotionally, they represent the opposite of everything Beulah stands for. While Beulah spreads fear and manipulation, Oriana and Carter are slowly learning to trust and open up to each other. That contrast feels intentional. And eventually, I think Oriana's knowledge about Beulah could become the key to finally exposing the truth. The problem is that truth alone may not be enough. Because if Beulah truly is responsible for the disease outbreak, the disappearances, and the fear controlling this town, then exposing her could place everyone involved directly in danger. That's why episode 4 feels like the beginning of something much larger. Not just another ranch conflict, not just another family feud. This feels like the start of a full-scale war for control, survival, and revenge. And the scariest part is that nobody may walk away from it unchanged. I also can't stop thinking about the secrets Beth and Rip are hiding themselves. So far, they've managed to stay one step ahead of the consequences surrounding Rob Will's death and Jamie's disappearance. But secrets in dramas like this always return eventually. Always. The longer those truths stay buried, the more dangerous they become. And if Beulah uncovers even part of that information, she could gain enough leverage to completely destroy Beth and Rip from the inside out. That possibility changes everything, because for the first time in a long time, Beth may be facing an enemy who can actually outmaneuver her psychologically. Beulah doesn't rely on brute force alone. She studies people. She waits patiently. She attacks weaknesses slowly. And Beth's biggest weakness has always been the people she loves. That's exactly why episode 4 could become one of the most intense chapters of the entire series so far. By the end of this episode, I think we'll either see Beth and Rip finally start fighting back against Beulah, or we'll watch them lose even more control over the situation. Either way, the tension is reaching dangerous levels now, and it honestly feels like the calm before complete chaos explodes across the ranch. What do you guys think? Is Beulah truly responsible for the disease outbreak, or is there an even bigger twist hiding behind everything happening at the ranch right now? And if Beth finally decides to go to war, how far do you think she'll be willing to go? Let me know all your theories in the comments below, because something tells me episode 4 is only the beginning of a much darker story. So far, Dutton Ranch has given us betrayal, fear, mystery, and a ranch war that feels ready to explode at any moment. But after everything we saw in episode 4, one thing is becoming very clear. Beth and Rip may be facing the most dangerous enemy of their lives. And honestly, I don't think Beulah is done yet. The deeper this story goes, the darker it becomes, and something tells me the biggest twists are still waiting ahead. So, what are your predictions for the next episode? Do you think Beth will strike back first, or is Beulah already 3 steps ahead of everyone? Drop all your theories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the next video on your screen right now, because things at Dutton Ranch are only getting crazier from here.